Welcome back to Gen Z Speaks. We're back with another episode. With me today, my usual co-hosts, the future of Intel, Jenish Thanki. How are you doing, man?
Doing good, man. Excited.
And last but not least, Matt Gutierrez, the future of real estate, the soon-to-be real estate tycoon. How you doing, man?
Doing good, man. Listen to Donda. Feeling good.
All right, let's dive right in. We were not able to do a podcast last week. So our most recent one was about 2 weeks ago. And during that, we covered what was happening in Afghanistan, and a lot has actually transpired since then. Literally a day after we recorded the podcast, news media outlets were reporting of images and videos of Afghani civilians literally clinging on to planes because they're afraid of the Taliban takeover. They're afraid that their lives are not going to be granted the freedom or the liberty that they had, or whatever semblance of liberty or freedom they had before the Taliban takeover. And so we saw images of literally hundreds of civilians just hanging on to the wings of the airplanes. It was something that it's like it's not just shocking, but it's one of those things where you're just, I've never seen an image like that before, right? Like people are so desperate that they're ready to risk their lives hanging onto a plane after it takes off. And multiple people died during those evacuations. There's a report that a 17-year-old Afghani kid, he was one of those people who claimed who hung onto a plane, and he played for the Afghani youth soccer team, and he lost his life because obviously you can't cling onto a plane while it's taking off. And so he was one of those civilians that was he died trying to escape Afghanistan. And just goes to show how desperate the situation is, right? It's like, imagine the state of mind you have to be in to make that decision. To me, that's the most important part of this, that the state of mind is so severe and so desperate that people are making these decisions. And I'm just at a loss of words. What do you guys think about what's happening there?
I think it's really rough what's going on. They're dealing with a lot of, obviously, emotions. They've been dealing with it for decades, especially living in it, for years and years and years. And finally, the side that's not supposed to win kind of came on top. And so they kind of have to, just feel it out. Obviously, it's hard to just say feel it out because it's a terrorist organization taking over your entire country. And that's the 17-year-old kid, that's somebody's son, that's somebody's child, and having to bear with that. Of course, for us it's sad, but imagine being an actual Afghani over there and having to deal with those types of situations.
What blows my mind is, like, we talk about like young kids like 17 and stuff, but imagine like being born there during this time. Like imagine you're like a 3-year-old kid during this time. Like, you don't even know what's going on. That kind of just blows my mind, that fact right there. But yeah, other than that, I was also thinking, like, I was talking with Ibrahim before, and it's thing is, the soldiers are still there. NATO soldiers are still there, and the Taliban's actually protecting the airports from the other ISIS K group, to protect the NATO soldiers from leaving. So it's kind of like a wild dynamic that's going on there, I feel like, because because the Taliban technically owns Afghanistan now. It's their government, right? So they have to protect even the NATO soldiers that are in their country, I guess. So I think that's a weird dynamic now we refer to the Taliban, which is known as a terrorist organization, as like a governmental organization that has political power.
Yeah, so I think I mentioned this in the last podcast. The Taliban used to control Afghanistan during the 1990s. And just a brief recap, 9/11 happened, and George Bush said that the Taliban were hiding or giving Al-Qaeda which was run by Osama bin Laden. They were giving them a hideout in Afghanistan, and so we invaded the country, toppled the Taliban regime, and took over. And then we went into Iraq for a similar reason, saying that Saddam Hussein's government presented a threat of terrorism, that they had weapons of mass destruction, WMDs. Obviously, that was proven not to be true. And then you have to understand, after Al Qaeda kind of, lost a lot of power, ISIS, grew out of that organization. And ISIS now are used to control large parts of Iraq and Syria. The size of the territory was as big as the United Kingdom, the UK, and so the land that they controlled was huge. And then when ISIS lost power, their leader Abu Bakr al-Baghdadi was assassinated by the Trump administration. And after ISIS lost power, ISIS-K, which is what you were referring to, Jenish, kind of their power increased in the region of Afghanistan and Pakistan. And so what's important to keep in mind is, even if the head of a terrorist organization in the Middle East gets assassinated or killed, that doesn't prevent the continuation of that terrorist organization. And so when Donald Trump said, I eliminated 100% of ISIS, right? He proudly proclaimed that he destroyed the entirety of ISIS, that they don't exist anymore. That was just not true. They have different divisions in different parts of the Middle East and South Asia. And so when Abu Bakr al-Baghdadi saw that he was losing power and ISIS was losing power, he increased operations in Afghanistan and Pakistan, and that organization became known as ISIS-K. And ISIS-K recently conducted a suicide bombing attack at the Kabul airport, the Hamad Karzai airport, I think it's called, and approximately 170 civilians, Afghani civilians, died, and 13 US service members were killed. And ISIS-K is doing this because they are much more extreme than the Taliban. And so if you think the Taliban are extreme, ISIS-K thinks they're soft. And ISIS-K hates the Taliban and they hate the US. And so they said, how do we, damage both of these organizations? One, we'll do a suicide bombing attack in Afghanistan, where Taliban is now, like you said, the de facto head of government, and the US soldiers are there. And so they conducted a suicide bombing attack. Obviously, it's really easy for them to create a mass casualty event, because there's literally just families sleeping on the ground, right? Waiting their immigration status, waiting to be evacuated. And so from the standpoint of ISIS-K, that was the place for them to conduct this sort of an attack. And they, like I said, they killed approximately 170 Afghani civilians, including children, women, men, and 13 US service members. One of the US service members, he was from Wisconsin, and he was expecting a child. His wife, or his girlfriend, was almost 3 weeks into their delivery. And all of these 12 out of the 13 US service members were in their 20s. 4 of them were 20 years old, literally our age, and one of them was 31 years of age. And one of the soldiers, it was his first time there in Afghanistan for a deployment, and unfortunately he was killed there. And it's just like, when I was reading the stories of each of these individual soldiers, it was just like, they're our age going to a 20-year-old war. So they were literally born before the war, or they were born when the war started, and they lived all their lives, right? And when they turn 20, they go to Afghanistan for a war that has, what has it done? It's like we were talking about, it's accomplished nothing. And they sacrificed their lives for our country. I'm at a loss of words, because I just don't know. I just can't imagine what that's like, yeah.
So, I actually want to ask you, maybe you know this, Ibrahim, but when the suicide bombings happened, was there like any signs, or was it just like out of nowhere? Of course the army has some sort of technology, they maybe like radar scanners, some sort of technology to like prevent this type of missiles, bombings, anything like that?
So there was a lot of intelligence that indicated that this was bound to happen, that the terrorist attack was coming. So credit to the U.S. intelligence agencies. They were warning of this event. So this was not something that was unexpected. It was very much expected. President Biden just recently said that another attack is looming. And so, yeah, this was anticipated because if you think about just geographically or logistically the airport, right? It's not hard to infiltrate it if you're a young Afghani wearing a backpack, or if you're laced with bombs on your body. It's not hard, right? You can easily do that just because of the chaos that's going on there, and the confusion. And obviously our service members are trying their best, right, to protect our country, but they can only do so much, right? When you have thousands of Afghani people, literally thousands, coming in every day or staying in the airport, it's virtually impossible to prevent an infiltration, though the U.S. intelligence groups are conducting U.S. airstrikes. So recently, just today, there was breaking news that the U.S. just conducted an airstrike that supposedly killed a terrorist group member, one of the members from ISIS-K. They targeted his car, so it was supposed to be a car bombing, and apparently U.S. military officials said that they were successful in eliminating this individual. But again, like, ISIS-K has about, I don't know exactly how many, from the most recent reports I read, they have anywhere from 1,000 to 4,000 fighters spread out over Pakistan and Afghanistan. And so this, again, like President Biden said, the chance of another attack happening is very much possible. And we have to deal with the circumstances. It's unfortunate. It's sad. And I do think that this could have been prevented. I just don't understand why Biden, I just don't understand why or how this had to be unfolded the way it did. Biden said the other day that he had full faith in the Afghani troops, right? He said this a month ago or 2 months ago. He said that he believes in the strength and the power of the Afghani military. Well, that was just not true. The Afghani military didn't stand a chance against the Taliban, even though there were more of them, right? Like you saw, the Taliban didn't even have to fire gunshots in some instances because of how scared the Afghani military was. So I feel like time after time, president after president, each president has misled the American people, including Biden. He misled us by saying that he had his full faith and support in the Afghani military. And then the Secretary of State says that the US accomplished what it sought out to in Afghanistan. I mean, if your goal was to find bin Laden in Afghanistan, that was just not successful, because bin Laden was found in Pakistan, right where I come from. I lived 300 miles away from where bin Laden was killed. And so I just don't see their statements, right, being factually correct. And I just see a pattern of them just misleading the American people. And this whole crisis could have been averted in terms of the humanitarian crisis that has become. Afghani civilians should not have been clinging on to planes. That could have been prevented, right, if the U.S. didn't rush into this, if they had just anticipated that the Afghani military just didn't stand a chance against the Taliban. And so I think it's yeah, go ahead.
I mean, transparency has always been a problem for the U.S. government. I mean, every president has just always, misled the American people. But, I don't know why Joe Biden said that, that he has full trust in the Afghani soldiers, because it just seemed like even the U.S. was having trouble fighting off the Taliban, right? I mean, what can a weak Afghan military do against the Taliban? That's what I feel like. I don't know. I think that was just a way, because he had to get the people out, the U.S. soldiers out. I think that was just an excuse to saying, oh, they'll be fine. The Afghan soldiers are strong. They'll be fine. And that was like the I guess excuse that he made.
I definitely agree with you in that regard. I also think that Biden also said that to ease the people, because obviously there's a lot of noise going on right now, and people want our U.S. soldiers out. They've wanted the U.S. soldiers out of there, and he finally is at a place where that was able to happen, and he created that scapegoat, like, oh, they're going to be fine, like we're not just abandoning them, we're taking care of ourselves now. and they're at a place where they can take care of themselves as well. But unfortunately, like Ibrahim said, that is not true. They failed. And real quick about ISIS-K. So I think the whole thing with ISIS is how they were so dangerous is obviously they're very radical, but not only were they like extremely malicious, but they're everywhere, right? It's like they're not in a central location. They're kind of like dispersed throughout the entire, like all of the world. And so that's how I think that's how, ISIS-K came about, like a subsidiary, but it's not necessarily different, right? It's just an attachment of ISIS or ISIL, however you want to call them. And I think that's like the interesting part of this whole war thing, is that they're like a network. It's not like a core, right? It's a network of individuals and a belief system, and something that's unfortunate. But yeah, go ahead.
Exactly. You hit it right at the buck. ISIS is decentralized. And like you said, what keeps them together is not their structure of how they conduct operations, but their ideology, right? And the leaders at the top, they just want more political and economic power, but the soldiers believe in a larger, in a larger purpose for their actions. And obviously they're brainwashed. And but yeah, so that's why, like, the United States, like Donald Trump, he failed to realize that you could never really eliminate an entire terrorist organization. There's always going to be different subsidiaries of it, or there'll be new fighters that form a different faction, because you have to understand the bigger problem, the larger problem. In a lot of these countries, in Afghanistan, in Pakistan, in Iran, there's a lot of young people, right? A lot of men in their 20s, and there's high unemployment, right? In Palestine, if you look at the economic structure there. So within the Middle East, there's a very big economic problem. A lot of young people, young men, don't have a purpose because they're unemployed. They don't have economic resources, opportunities, because the region has just been stained by war, right? For the last 20 or 30 years. And because of that, they are looking for a sense of purpose. Now, again, this is a very small percentage of individuals in Afghanistan, in Iraq, Afghanistan, Syria, that are looking, or that join these terrorist organizations. And obviously they're misled by their leaders. But again, like you said, because it's decentralized, it's really easy for them to conduct these attacks. And yeah, it's just like, I just go back to that image, man, of those Afghani civilians just falling out of planes, because I don't know, like it's the
Doesn't seem
situation
real,
there,
right?
yeah.
Like it doesn't seem real. That's to me, at least.
The situation there is so bad that they're literally risking their lives. I mean, it's like unfathomable. And I mean, on a certain level, it just goes to show that how scared the Afghani civilians are of the Taliban. And the Taliban, they have a history of abusing minorities, of abusing women. And in my opinion, long term, I don't think the Taliban are going to be successful in a more productive Afghanistan, because I'm just a believer that if you strong arm people and you use the power of the gun to dictate people's actions, in the long term, it's never really going to be successful, because deep down, people will always want a more, people deep down will always want to have the power of their individual choices. And obviously that varies culturally, but I still think that Afghanistan is not going to prosper under the Taliban control. And the Taliban are not going to just drastically change. They are who they are, and they have a belief system. Obviously, they're not going to be as extreme as they were back in the 90s. I don't think they will be, but they'll still be they'll still be continuing to do what the inhumane acts that they have done, just on a smaller level, I guess. But yeah.
Speaking of like long term, do you think the Taliban is going to end up kind of like country maybe like North Korea or something, where they're just heavily sanctioned by the US, EU, and all these other major countries, and then they'll have some trade going on with like Russia, China, maybe Iran, and so on, and it'll just be kind of like a like a war zone, kind of like a government where they try to establish as much control as possible, but like the people are still trying to escape and leave the country, or rebel against the government.
Well, I think it's hard to predict what might happen in the long term. Obviously, like I just made a prediction, so it's kind of hypocritical of me to say this, but I think to your question, I think the US government is going to wait and see before they heavily sanction Afghanistan. They're going to see if if the Taliban plan on changing their practices. Obviously, I don't see that happening, right? But like of in terms of sanctions, people are already leaving Afghanistan. Like Pakistan houses approximately 2 million Afghani refugees, and people are leaving Afghanistan. Obviously, the U.S. has been successful in evacuating approximately 100,000 people from Afghanistan, and they're coming over to the United States, or they're going into the EU or Great Britain. And so I think obviously people are going to want to leave. Obviously, that's one of the biggest things that's created this refugee crisis, right? This humanitarian crisis. People who've helped the U.S. translators, their families, or just people who've helped with the collection of intelligence. Well, what do you do with them? The U.S. has a moral responsibility, right, to help them out. But some of these people are still have not been evacuated.
But by the way, just a little pointer out. I just looked it up. There's 38 million people in Afghanistan. That's the population.
Mm-hmm.
And then, so go ahead. I just wanted to point that out.
Yeah, 38 million people, and out of them, I think millions of Afghani people are going to at least consider leaving the country. Some of them will obviously wait and see what happens, but I think if the Taliban continue to do what they're doing, which is if they continue to do what they did in the 90s, then definitely I think the US will consider sanctions. But I don't know. So far, the Taliban have been doing this, this publicity stunt that they are, allowing media groups to come into the country and see what's happening, and that they're actually sending, young girls to schools. There was a video released by one of their spokespersons showing like younger girls were going to school, but like again, remember like what I told you guys last podcast, right when Afghanistan got control of the country, one of the members of the Taliban fighters, he painted over a commercial of a woman, using beauty products. And so again, it's the same thing with this, right? I feel like the Taliban fighters, the way they are trained and the ideology they're trained with is very separate from what the Taliban leadership is saying that they plan on doing. And so I don't see how the Taliban fighters, right, are going to be civil or peaceful or promote domestic tranquility, right, compared to what they've been trained or how they've been just raised as fighters. So yeah, I don't see a brighter or better Afghanistan in the future. And the Taliban are going to learn their lesson that, Afghanistan can't just be conquered, right? History has told us that no specific group or organization or country has been able to successfully control Afghanistan, maybe hundreds of years back, but in modern history, that hasn't happened. And I don't see that changing. So it is, I think it will continue to be the graveyard of empires, and the Taliban are going to find that soon.
Real quick before we move on, Ibrahim. Okay, so speaking of Afghanis and like how obviously a lot are going to try to immigrate and try to find visas in other countries. So I was actually talking to a immigration officer yesterday, and it's interesting because he runs kind of the high level pursuits of visas. But he was also mentioning that all the pursuits that are coming in, it's actually Afghanis going to the top of the list for visas to come over here. And what he's seeing a lot is every single one that's coming in like the little note section saying like, why do you need to come into the United States? They're saying Taliban's trying to kill me, Taliban's trying to kill me, Taliban's trying to kill me. And it's like a constant thing. And he was saying that, unfortunately, like whether it's true or not true, right? I mean, he can't tell. He has to be like very fact-based, logical based. It still has to abide by the United States law in order to get the people into the country or not. He mentioned that it's unfortunate, but it's like there's no way to prove that they're actually being killed or being hunted by the Taliban. And it's like a constant thing there, right? That they're just being bombarded by these requests to come into the country. And actually a lot are being accepted here because of, the current outlook over there. But I thought that was very interesting that, in fact, that it's not the opposite of getting stopped. That's what I thought. I thought that Afghani visas, they would be kind of in low demand by the United States government, and they'd kind of try to wait till everything cools off, just because of the the political climate right now. But it's actually the opposite, where they're being pushed to the top of the list.
So I'm not, again, I'm not familiar with the specific immigration process for Afghani refugees that's going on right now. But from what I can tell you with my experience with immigration, I think the U.S., obviously the U.S. immigration system is broken, right? It has been for quite a while, and we need new legislation to fix it. But in terms of the security aspect of it, I think the United States, like it took me 8.5 years, right, to get my U.S. citizenship since when I got a visit visa to come here. And so in terms of the security aspect of it, I'm sure the U.S. is doing its best to protect Americans and to make sure people, Afghani civilians who are coming in, genuinely need the help, and they, have to seek asylum in the country because they have no other choice. And so I'm not too worried about that. What I am worried though is that I'm just worried that the people who need the help, like we're not getting everybody who needs the help out of the country. I'm talking specifically about U.S. allies, right? Like translators, people who help the U.S. There's been reports that there's some families that are still stuck at the Kabul airport, that they have not been evacuated yet. And again, like it's just a logistical nightmare. I just don't understand. I get it. I understand that, the situation there is different. From what we live in Los Angeles, and so we have a completely different perspective than people who are on the ground, right? So we certainly don't have all the details or all the information, but from what I can tell, I just think this humanitarian crisis, obviously on an overall level, it couldn't have been prevented, but like logistically, people falling out of planes or people just like, piling onto planes, those images certainly could have been prevented. And I think the US should have started evacuating our allies beforehand. Like, why are we just rushing into this? I just don't understand this. And like when people say, oh, well, you're not a military expert, like you don't know what's happening on the ground, but how much more longer are we going to let politicians tell us that we're dumb and like we just don't understand international relations or international politics? I think that's like, at the end of the day, this whole thing, no matter what Biden says or what the Secretary of State says, this whole thing, the disaster that it was, because it could have been prevented. Although I'd still agree that the U.S. should, pull out troops, because enough is enough, and the country, the situation there is not going to change. And so the U.S. can't really add value to it, but they can add value by protecting our allies, because it has a moral responsibility, right, to protect our allies. Like think about what's going to happen in future scenarios when other countries or other people just can't trust us because we left people who helped us just hanging and not doing anything for them. I think the U.S. is trying its best. Yes, it is. But I just think we should, I don't know, I think we should be more efficient with it. That's just like my opinion. Yeah, I don't know, man. I saw War Dogs yesterday. I don't know if you guys have seen that movie, but it's just basically about how the military industrial complex, right, and how war is just like a machine for military contractors, and at the end of the day, there's a dollar value, dollar sign attached to any war we go to, and there's always someone who benefits from it. And I don't know, man. I just think, what in your opinion, do you guys think that what do you guys think about the economic aspect of war just as a whole? Because I just feel like how morally ugly do you have to be, right, to like constantly justify war because you're working for a military contractor or you're working for someone who benefits off war? Like that aspect to me is just like again, like I just don't understand how some people can justify war.
Yeah, I don't know. I really don't know. Like if you're working there, your life kind of depends on your income from the company. Like let's say you're working at a military like weapons manufacturer company, right? Like you're gonna massively profit if more war, more violence, more yeah, that's actually a really good question. I gotta think about that one.
Yeah, because I think, like I said, like on the last podcast, approximately $2 trillion were spent, right, in the U.S. and Iraq during these wars. $2 trillion. I mean, it's just like, I just want to read you guys a quote. I was reading an op-ed in the Washington Post. And the op-ed cited a quote by a US military general back in 1935. His name is Smedley Butler, Major General Smedley Butler. And he said this on war. He said, quote, "War is a racket. It always has been. It is possibly the oldest, easily the most profitable, surely the most vicious. It is the only one in which the profits are reckoned in dollars and the losses in lives." And I think that just sums it up, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. I mean, like,
Mhm.
I mean, this, last point, but like companies like Lockheed Martin, Raytheon, Boeing, like all these companies, I'm sure are, are making lots of profits um, with the advance and, I guess, yeah, with lives on the line. I guess when people are dying, they're making money. It's kind of crazy to think about. It's like
Sad,
oh,
but it's unfortunately like
yeah.
extremely lucrative when war happens, right? Like you see just in the real estate space, right? Just to tie it back to what I do, it's insane how much space Northrop Grumman owns. Like Northrop Grumman owns so much space in the hottest market in the country, which would be the South Bay market, where the port of LA, Port of Long Beach, the largest ports in the United States, and they own hundreds and hundreds of thousands, if not, no, definitely more than millions of industrial square feet, and they only continue to increase just because obviously Northrop Grumman does a lot of aerospace, a lot of engineering, but I mean they're also in the military space because they supply a lot of the planes, a lot of the weapon, the leeway to get to the weapons, right? And so it's just insane how lucrative it is and how lucrative it'll continue to be. Just because, I mean, from the beginning of time, war is just part of human nature. People crave power, people crave wealth, and how do you get that? The easiest way is to kind of to stir people's emotions up and start killing and see how that works out for them. But it's unfortunate, but that's like the reality.
I think if I was like, let's say like the CEO of like Lockheed Martin or something, the way I would justify it to myself is like, I'm protecting our nation. That's what my justification would be. Even if it's, it might not be correct. I might be, actually harming people, giving weapons to Taliban. We don't know where the weapons are going. Like a lot of times the weapons are imported to like terrorist groups and stuff. So, but that's how I feel like those people justify to themselves. Like I'm helping the American people. I'm protecting the lives of our troops.
Whatever helps them sleep at night.
Exactly.
Matt.
Also fun fact.
Mhm.
I
Go
actually
ahead.
interviewed for Northrop Grumman.
Oh shoot.
Unfortunately, I didn't get in, but yeah, it's fun
Hey,
fact.
it would have been lucrative.
I think Matt said something really interesting. He said that war is part of human nature. Jenish, do you agree with that? Like war is just innate in a human, and that it's a part of our I guess nature that can be separated, that it's inevitable. Do you think that it is? I don't know. I feel like
I mean, I feel like humans as a species, we're dynamic. We're always changing, and I don't know if it's the fact that war is innate, but I feel like change is innate. Like we're meant to change, and when we change, we have like countries, we have nationalism, all these things. But when countries start to change, there's some tensions that happen, and I feel like that's what leads to war. I don't know if necessarily war is innate, but human change and like human the dynamic nature of humans is innate, and I feel like that's what leads to a lot of things, but one of them being war.
Well, the problem with that is, war is dynamic in itself. And, if you just look at the core root of what war is, it's confrontation. And I mean, on a biological basis, I mean, you look back in history, I mean, the hunter gatherers, that's what it is. It's about, it's about surviving. And, we're at a point now, we're at an advanced point now where, it's not hunter and gatherer, right? But that core, idea is still there where, we don't necessarily have to care about protecting our family if a bear comes at us or whatever, right? But what we do have to think about is maybe something a little, unfortunately, because it doesn't have to be this way, but it is this way. Who's bigger, us or the animal? And In this case, it's us or ISIS or us or US or the Taliban. And so it's continuously this way. And on the in reverse hindsight, not hindsight, on the reverse side, it's Taliban versus the US. And the reason that they create this whole facade of the Taliban versus the US is just to create traction. And as I said, the reason I said war is innate, it's a part of human nature, is because power is part of human nature. And what's part of power is confrontation and war, because for whatever reason, humans and animals in general can't get to the point where you can't be at a top position or a powerful position without putting somebody else down, right? And the Taliban have also adopted that ideal. And who's the biggest in the world? The United States of America. And how do you make the most noise? By saying, screw United States of America, we can be better than them. And so that's part of their agenda, and that's part of their power play. And what is the US going to do? We're not going to allow that to happen. And so it's just a continuous, cycle of life and how the world
Struggle
works.
for power.
That's what it is, a struggle for power.
Yeah, but does that mean that we as just, regular people can't prevent that from happening? Like, I just think that this decision of Biden, right, to pull out troops permanently from Afghanistan was a really good decision, because we're not going to be involved, at least militarily, to the extent that we were in Afghanistan. And I think that's a good decision. Maybe that's a good start to recognizing that America can't just tell other countries what to do or how to live their lives, right? Like, I think part of the reason why Bush and Cheney were so they were so involved in the Middle East was because they were just lobbied by, like, Dick Cheney had so many friends in the military contracting space, right? And I think they were just maybe they knew what was happening, and maybe they were a part of this economic project, as some people say. But I honestly think that Biden has a good sense that he realizes that the United States has failed in Afghanistan, and he's trying his best to pull us out. But in terms of this whole question about war, I just think it's people in power telling regular people or misleading them, right, and using emotion as a way to drive a wedge between different people. Like, I think Bush and Cheney just did that. They said that, and they made Americans feel part of a bigger mission. They said, oh, we're fighting the war on terror, right? And what we were really just doing is funding our military industry, our military industrial complex. I mean, think about how much money it costs just to suit up a Marine. It costs thousands of dollars for all the armor, for all the other elements of it. And like, every single little thing was produced by a company. Every single little thing, right, was made by somebody, and somebody benefited tremendously off that. So it's a good thing that we're not in Afghanistan anymore. And the crazy part is, some of these big military industrial complex players, companies, are lobbying, or they were lobbying Biden, saying, oh man, you shouldn't really pull out of Afghanistan completely. It's going to be a nightmare. I mean, it turned out to be a nightmare, but I think Biden made the right call. And I will give him credit, right, to, I guess, fighting off the lobby of the military industrial complex and saying, no, it's time for us to leave. But we could have done it better.
Fair enough.
Better.
Well, let's talk about actual power players now.
Let's
Elon
talk about
Musk.
Mr. Musk, bro.
He's the king of innovation.
Last week there was a Tesla AI conference where he talked about his future plans for full self-driving on all the Tesla vehicles. But the thing that caught everyone's eyes was what he announced later on in the show, which was the Tesla bot. So if you guys haven't seen it, it's a robot that's like about 5'8", size of a regular person, and it's actually pretty cool. So the whole concept behind it is like, what is a car, if you think about it, or what is a full self-driving car? It's pretty much a robot on 4 wheels, right? If you just think about it in a basic terms, it's just a robot on 4 wheels. Now, what Elon Musk is planning to do is just apply that same thing into an actual robot that's humanized, like a humanoid robot, right? So in the Tesla bot, they're using the same Dojo supercomputer AI that they use in the cars. They just gonna apply it into the robot. So they're using the exact same AI supercomputer that they're using in for their self-driving cars. Um, Also, it was funny. I don't know if you guys saw, but when they introduced the bot, they showed like the human strength. They showed like the deadlift number. They showed like the height, how much you can bench press and stuff. And there was like, don't worry, guys. They won't. You'll be able to run away from it, or you'll be able to beat it down. You know, just in case people were worried about AI taking over or something like that.
He said,
Um,
hopefully though.
yeah,
Hopefully.
hopefully, yeah. Um, but yeah, so right now the plans for the Tesla bot is just for production. So like to do like human tasks, in like for example, making Tesla cars. You know, there's some tasks that they can't autonomize with robots, so they have to like tech like normal robots that you see in like at production. Those like those I don't know what they're called, but like the ones you see in the cars, the one with like the hands and stuff like that. But the humanoid robot is meant to literally replace humans at a production companies like Tesla. The long-term plans is more like it'll help humans, they'll do that. But Elon Musk always says some crazy shit like that, where it's like, oh, in the long term they're gonna they're gonna do some crazy stuff with the robots and stuff. But we got to take that for granted. Elon Musk always says some crazy stuff like that. But the more recent plans is that they're going to use it in the production companies and stuff. But this kind of, I mean, it's not like crazy, like we haven't seen them in action yet, but just the announcement was crazy, because like everybody's like, wow, this is like the future, like the future of AI, future of
No, this is
robots and
like
stuff.
we are in the future, right? Like we are the future now. It's no
Yeah,
more
yeah,
talking about what's going on. It's actually happening and it's
yeah,
in
yeah.
play right now.
Yeah, that I feel like that robot signified that. I feel like it'll be in the history books, like, oh, the Tesla bot signified the change in AI. I could see that in the history books. But yeah, as far as this AI, I mean, it's pretty crazy. Um, this might be like a revolution right now going on. We're like living in it. What do you guys think about AI kind of replacing human jobs? I think it's going to be a big deal, especially with self-drive. Like they're so close right now. I mean, they're not. I would say they're like 80% or maybe even 90% near full self-driving. But it's just this is that last 10% is just super hard to reach, right? But after like self-driving, I feel like so many people are going to lose their job, like Uber, like people who do Uber, people who do like truck drivers. Like it's just like there's gonna honestly, I always think like government needs to make a plan for what's going to happen after the AI revolution, because a lot of people are going to lose their jobs. And I feel like the Tesla bot is going to be relevant, or some type of robot, AI robot will be relevant in that process.
Yeah, I think we're definitely what you said. We're in the future. We're in the now, and this is what the future is heading to. I don't agree like with what's going on. I don't really like it. I don't really like the cause of it. I don't think that everything should just be driven by that monetary value of what a robot's going to give to you versus what a human can give to you, because there's value behind human intent. Humans provide, like, this is all there is, right? We're on Earth. There's just humans, and then there's animals. And what do we care about? We care about us as a human race. It shouldn't just be about what's going to provide my company more value. How am I going to get more money? How can I get to that $1 trillion mark? And I think that's just what it is. Everything's big corp and everything is trying, and I'm totally for it. But I think it comes to an extent where it's just like, this is too much. And I think we're getting to that point where we're talking about robots doing human tasks. Like, sure, it may not happen, but it's still in the conversation and it's still extremely plausible. And that to me is not okay. Like, humans don't. So let's give an example, right? What he said. He literally said that humans don't necessarily need to be going to the grocery store and buying their own groceries. That was his example. That you could have this Tesla bot go ahead and do it for you. But for what purpose? Like, for us to just sit at home and be more productive and do more productive work and not do less human actual acts? Like, that's not right. We're here. Sometimes we need to stop working, or we don't need to be on watching TV or watching YouTube or, listening to music, doing, things that put us at ease in the moment. We need to do actual human acts like going to a car wash or washing our car, going to buy food, going to the grocery store, things like that that actually make us human, that make us what we are. And this whole idea of a Tesla bot and his whole adaptation, he mentioned on the Joe Rogan podcast how he did mention the Tesla bot in a previous manner, not exactly like as detailed as he did this last week, but he did mention it, and how he's creating that company Neuralink, how it's already in play, and how our Neuralink, that chip in our brain that he's going to put, is going to somehow connect to that robot, and so they can't take over like he was saying. But it's like, where do we stop? I think that's the question. I'm gonna leave it to you. Where do we stop? Like, we're humans. We need to do human things. We can't just continue to live life and just, I don't even think it's advancing. That's the thing. I think that people believe it's technological advancement. I just think it's like pretty BS that we're actually making our lives too easy to the point where we're not being human anymore. So where do you think the extent is?
Matt, I feel
okay,
like you're gonna piss off a lot of futurists and AI enthusiasts, bro. 'Cause
Maybe, but it's my reality, right? Like, we all have
yeah.
opinions and
No,
we
no,
all
no.
have
I agree
realities.
with you. I agree. I know. I think you have your right for your opinion, but I definitely disagree with you.
yeah.
I think like if I'm at home and like I'm doing something that I want to do with my life, I don't want to do like, let's say there's some chores I want to do, like maybe vacuum, do the dishes. I don't want to do that. I want to do what I want to do with my life, right? I want to go
Like
travel. I want
what?
to do
Give me an
something.
example.
I'll be on my computer. I can watch Netflix. I can, do some
Exactly,
coding.
doing less human acts. You're
But what defines
satisfying. No,
human?
no, no. But listen, bud. Listen. What you're doing right now is you're giving into your instant gratification, right? And as life goes on, as things go on, right? Sorry, I don't mean to sound aggressive. I feel like I'm sounding aggressive right now. Like what the internet has done, right? Or what the telephone has done. It's like it's made communication easier for us. And that's fair. Like, that's actually helping us be better humans. Okay. But by us not doing chores, by not washing dishes, by not going to the grocery store, first of all, you're limiting social acts, right? What you just said, you can watch Netflix, you can play video games, you can go, okay, first of all, traveling has nothing to do with this, because I'm talking about chores and I'm talking about going to the grocery store. That has nothing to do with doing that kind of stuff, right? But so, okay, you said what defines human acts? Being social is a human act. Going to the grocery store, talking to the clerk, talking to the people in aisles, like just shooting the shit sometimes. Like, that's human stuff. That's stuff that makes you feel good inside. Sure, watching Netflix is going to make you feel good, but
Yeah.
that's
Okay.
not providing any value to your human life.
Okay. Okay. Let me give you a different example. What about going to the club? Let's say I want to go to the club. I don't want to go grocery
Fair?
shopping. I don't want to wash my dishes, wash my car, or anything. So I'll just have a Tesla bot and I'll go to the club. I'm doing a human act. I'm socializing with people.
Sure, but
I'm having
you're
fun.
going to be doing that constantly? Is that what you're saying?
Or no, I like
Like,
it.
you don't have that human, that time to, maybe take the edge off and, actually spend time in your house. Like, your house is there, it's like your sanctuary. That's how it's been defined through. I'm more, obviously I'm more old school than you guys. Like, I'm an old school type of guy. I care about actual, getting deep with people, and sure, you guys could say that you get deep with people, but it's like, I don't know, man. Like, point being that that's irrelevant to what I'm trying to make the point as. But home has always been like a thing where it's like you go home to like de-stress, and you have a restroom, you have a kitchen. Like, those are there not just to, serve your purpose to eat and blah blah blah, but actually to cater towards the after effect. Like, the repercussion of eating is what? Dishes, right? That's the repercussion of making food and doing that kind of thing. And that's human. That's not animal. That's not like monkeys don't go out and eat bamboo and then clean up after themselves, right? Like, tigers don't do that. They don't clean the hyena bones after they eat the
Okay,
hyenas.
go, Ibrahim, go, Ibrahim, go.
1 second. Okay, hold on. Okay. I just think you just took this whole Tesla bot out of proportion and made this into like, oh my, okay. First of all, listen, man, to your point, the Tesla bot is only there to make production faster. And I agree with Elon
As of
Musk.
now, though, but as of now,
No.
right?
So what we said is pretty much, imagine if the Tesla bot is like a super intelligence AI robot that could do like stuff.
Well, that's
for you.
gonna happen. Like, it's not something that
that's
imagine. It's
what I'm
inevitable.
catering my point to. That's where I'm getting my point to. I think it's BS, and I don't think it should be there.
Well, you
I
said
don't
that
think
it's not really
yeah.
technological advancement, but it is to the computing power that goes behind
No,
building that
You
robot.
misunderstood my point. You misunderstood my point there. I said that it's technological, but I said it's taking out of proportion.
Okay,
It's
I
way
think
too far.
No, I understand what you're saying. But the only thing,
He's
the
like, he's
whole purpose.
boomer mindset, bro. Boomer
Yeah,
mindset.
the whole purpose of AI
Boomer
technology.
mindset. No. Come on, man. Be fair.
Hold
Be fair
on.
here, bud. That's
Hold
not
up.
boomer mindset. Like, opinions are opinions, and just because like I feel a certain way about that doesn't mean it's not
I'm
true.
kidding, man. I'm
No,
kidding.
hold
I
up.
know, but
The whole purpose of artificial intelligence is to make life for humans easier. It's not to take away life from humans. It's not to take away what it means to be human. It's just there as a
it
resource for
is.
people.
Yeah,
It's not
but
a
no,
resource though. It's getting to a point where it's not going to be a resource.
no,
Like
no,
right
no.
now, like for production value, I can understand that, right? But then it's like you're putting into human life, and you're integrating us with them. Like it's making us less human.
Hold up. So robots already exist. The computer is a type of a robot, a technology that
I
we
know.
all use.
I mentioned that. Remember, like when I
Yeah.
was
So
talking about the internet and the
like the
telephone.
whole point. I think you're thinking of that the whole world. Like tell me if you fear a world where humans kind of forget what it's truly like. They are not as social anymore, and they only like they kind of interact with robots more than they do with other humans, and they kind of like don't enjoy the smaller tasks, like like you said, going to the grocery store, that humans are going to stop doing those things and just like stay at home more and not like explore more and interact with other people. That's what you fear, right? Is that right?
I fear that simple tasks are going to be disintegrated, and like I feel like simple tasks kind of make life like that. Like when I'm washing, I'll give you an example, right? Like recently I started washing my car just because like I enjoy it. Like I enjoy being out there listening to music and thinking in my own thoughts. And that's kind of like where I take my time to kind of contemplate where I'm at in life right now. What happened this week, what the good stuff happened, what the bad stuff happened. And I don't feel like, I think those simple tasks of, washing your car, like it's so small nowadays. You have those $6 drive-throughs, like $6 is nothing. You just go through a drive-through, your car's done, right? Or you take an hour to wash your car. I'd literally be making more money if I went through the drive-through rather than washing my own car. But the point being is that those simple tasks kind of make me come back to reality, like come back to what it is to be human, what it is to be Matt Gutierrez.
Yeah, but AI technology is not going to take away that right from you. If you want to wash your car, by all means, go for it. I mean, like there's people in the world right now that don't have broadband and don't want to have internet access. They live in they don't think that.
Yeah, come on, man. You're talking about what percent of people?
But I'm saying you'll always
percent.
have the option. Like if you want to clean
You
your
will.
car in the future, you can do it. Like
Come on, man.
I think you're thinking, no, I think that's a very negative view of AI and technology.
It's not
I
negative.
have a really,
yeah, it is. Of AI, it is. Yes.
Yeah, I have a really positive view. I think
I
AI
have
is
a really
gonna-
positive view too.
Yeah,
I'm really
same.
excited about AI.
I'm
But that's
excited for
because
what's
you guys
to
are like
come.
fully integrating yourself into like this millennial like value. Like, okay, dude.
I don't.
No, check this out. Let me give another example, okay? Like kids nowadays, right? I'm not saying every damn kid like in the world, but vast majority of kids in the first world country, they have an iPad or they have a phone, and all they're doing all day is playing Roblox. They're on YouTube, and that's what they're doing, and they're integrating themselves into this. And I don't think that's valuable. I think that's creating yourself to be less human. That's another example. Like if
I don't
kids
know,
are
bro.
listen, let me finish my point. If the kids are integrating themselves into TikTok or into Roblox or whatever, and that's all they're doing, right? And they see other kids, right? We're social humans, and you see other kids doing the same thing, and then what they'll do is they'll naturally adapt to it, like, oh, they're doing it, so let me check what the buzz is about, right? And then they go on and then they do it, and that's like integrating the same value of like what AI or what the Tesla bot will be in the far future of doing our simple tasks. Like, oh, Joe Schmo across the street has a Tesla bot, and they're doing simple tasks and they're able to watch Netflix more. That sounds nice because that satisfies my instant gratification. So why shouldn't I do that? And then it's Meet the Joneses all over again. And then everybody has a damn Tesla bot, or not everybody, but vast majority of people have a Tesla bot. And those simple tasks of washing your car, stuff like that, kind of get devalued because you'd rather be inside watching the movie with your family, you know. But it's like, how many movies can you watch till you're just brain dead now?
Okay, no, okay. I don't want to take anything away from my opinion. All right, I agree. I mean, I respect your opinion, and you're free to have that opinion. But for me, it's like it's just convenient. Like you could just do so much more things in life. Let's say you're saying how many movies or how much, like let's say you want to read a book. Maybe that's like a positive thing. I would say like reading a book, getting knowledge, right? I can make my Tesla bot do something, read a book, or I could give you millions of examples of other productive things that I could do while the Tesla bot or whatever AI
But are
robot is
humans
doing something.
productive animals?
Yeah, I would say so. We've made
On
it
a
pretty
general,
far.
yeah, but those are the noisemakers. Those are the people that actually innovators, the people that do things. The minute amount of people have made the majority amount of change. That's a fact. And so it's like majority of people are just trying to satisfy their instant gratification.
So then you're okay. So first of all, then you're being, so you have a cynical view of human nature. You have a cynical view of what the majority of people are and what they stand for. I mean, you said that a very minute people in the world have created the most change. I like you're right in the sense that a handful of people, right, have and they have a lot more power than the average person. That's true. But collectively, people have been able to accomplish lots of great things. I mean, the power of collective unity is something that I think a lot of people just don't understand the value of it. I mean, look at the American Revolution. That was not just a, maybe you could argue that was just a handful of people, but collectively people had to fight, right, for their freedom and fight off the British. In the 1960s, people had to collectively fight and march, right, march to end segregation and to bring more voting rights, or to legislate voting rights. So I think the power of collective intellectualism and collective freedom is something that you're not considering, maybe. But I mean, like,
No, that you're right, dude. And you know, collective unity is true. But what I was saying with the noisemakers, right? Like if you want to take, you know, let's take a segregation for an example, right? Martin Luther King, he was a noisemaker, okay? And he's the one that was able to gather like the people and, you know, create this collective unity. Like that's fair. Like that happened. Okay. I'm not saying that didn't happen.
But
What I am saying is that the people that were following Martin Luther King as well, like they were satisfying their instant gratification as well. Like they wanted change, they wanted better. And so
so
that
what?
was what's better for them in that
okay,
moment.
I
I
think
would say
you're
no, wait. I would say the people that were following Martin Luther
Mhm.
were really productive. That's what I would say. I
They
don't
were,
know.
they 100% were.
Okay, that's my point. Then I was saying that people are,
Yeah, but that's because of Martin Luther King too, though. Like he was able to have that speech and have that power to, you know, gather these people and unify them. You know, I'm sure there would have been somebody else if Martin Luther King wasn't there, but in, you know, history's case, it was him. Like that's my point. He was that noisemaker. He was that guy. He was that innovator. He did that. I mean, and then other people, of course. I mean, we have other people that also, you know, I'm not just saying Martin Luther King. I'm just using him as an example, so don't take that away either. But of course, like he was one of those key individuals that was able to make that noise and create that change.
okay. Listen, I think the word they're using, instant gratification, sure, a lot of people, want instant gratification. I mean, look at social media, right? Likes, retweets, etc. We get instant gratification when someone likes our post, or etc. So obviously that is a part of our human nature, but that's not our purpose. Like we're not constantly seeking instant gratifications. I don't think so. We also seek a bigger purpose, a larger purpose in life. And all of us as humans, regardless of our education status or socioeconomic status, I think all of us deep down ponder over our purpose in life. And I think with the constant innovation of AI and technology, I don't think that's gonna be completely taken away. I mean, you're kind of thinking about a dystopia, right? Is that correct? Like a world where technology is such a big part of our life, where we forget what it's like to be human and we stay inside more than we go outside. I mean, I think that's not gonna happen, because people have always warned against, oh, robots are going to take over the world and humans are just going to forget what it's like to be human, and we're going to be so completely reliant upon them that we'll like forget what we used to, generations past used to know. I don't think that's going to happen. I think the Tesla bot, let's like specifically, was created so that a lot of Tesla employees don't have to like work longer hours, and so the Tesla bot can add production value. It's just a product of capitalism. It's using your available resources and making the most out of it, right? To do what's best for the company as a whole, for Tesla. And I don't think the Tesla bot is a bad influence on society. I think it's going to be better because people are not just going to aim to work at a factory or make cars, although that's fine if you do that, right? All respect to you. I think people will aim for bigger things, right? To garner more skills than just I mean, it doesn't require a lot of skill, right? To
Being an assembly line.
Yeah, it doesn't require a lot of skill. A lot, again, like respect to you, people's circumstances change. And so I think the Tesla bot would actually increase more productivity and education. People will aspire to do more harder things, if that makes sense. So I think I have a really positive view of technology.
I think
you're way too optimistic about what humans really are and like the reality of what we are.
Yeah, I mean,
hey man, I'm an optimist deep down. Like I that's just
no, but that's too optimistic. There's a difference between being an optimist and being unreasonable. Like that's too unreasonable to consider us like I mean, come on, man. Like just look at us right now, right? Look at us compared to what we were 20 years ago. Are people constantly trying to gather new skills, or are people looking to other people who have new skills and then garner that? Like I don't.
You're generalizing. I think you're generalizing. I think people are looking.
You're generalizing as well too, Ibrahim, by saying that people are gonna, want to garner new skills. Like that's a general
that just
statement
makes sense
too.
to me. If you can't become a blue collar worker, you have no other choice than aspire to.
Yeah, but will they do it?
Else.
Will they do it?
Well, if they don't, there will
That's
be a
the
UBI,
point.
like Elon Musk said. We'll have a universal basic income ready for them. So in case.
Yeah, and what they just do nothing, and then that's still less human acts. Like that's not okay.
See, that's something that like so you're thinking of making. So what's the solution here? Do you think the American government should ban AI technology? Or
No, I never said that. I said AI is okay. I said it's okay to an extent. I don't think it should be integrated into our home. It shouldn't be integrated to our home. This is our sanctuary.
It already is, though. It already is.
Yes, but this is to actually make our life more productive, not to go ahead and wash our dishes while we go party or while we watch TV or like that type of thing. Like
you're talking. Do you love doing the dishes, man? Like, do you love vacuuming? Like, I get it. Like, I get it. Like,
no, but that's human acts, man. That's human acts.
I get
that's
it.
That's what makes us human.
You can
when my
still
mom
do
washes
it.
the dishes, I go and I talk to her, right? Or like when she's making food, like I go in the kitchen, I talk to her. What, some robot's gonna go in the kitchen, and sure, I can still talk to my mom, like, but it creates like a less human thing.
I hear you. No, listen,
I think that's okay.
I have no problem with AI, so like I have no problem with it. It can be in the Tesla production line. Like I understand that to an extent. Okay, I don't think it should be integrated to where we are, like in our home, in our like again, I'll call it again a sanctuary. Like this is where we go to take it off, like to be more human.
I mean, we already got robots like Alexa and like Siri and stuff like that. Obviously, they're not as intelligent or they're not as like in a physical form. But I mean, I think this is just like people just have like we just have different opinions at the end of the day. Like we're not. I don't think either one of us is gonna convince one or each other that like, oh, this is bad, because it's just. I guess it's just a difference in views and how we perceive the future of AI and I guess robots.
I think what Matt did touch on, though, is important. It's an important subject that a lot of jobs are going to be gone, once AI. I mean, we're already
I agree.
In the third innings of this industrial revolution. Andrew Yang often talks about this, but yeah, a lot of people are going to lose their jobs, and we're going to have a lot of unskilled people in the labor force. So what do we do for them? What do we do to improve them? That's a question that we're definitely going to have to wrestle with.
That's actually really scary. And I feel like
that's an important question.
The transition between that is going to be really tough. Like, we don't know how AI is going to be discovered, right? But there's like this general theory, or not even a theory, but people speculate when it's discovered, it's like it becomes a singularity, where it's like it becomes like exponentially smarter.
What do you mean discovered? What do you mean like discovered?
Or
like, you mean
I guess created. Sorry,
realized, like when AI kind of like is fully integrated. Okay.
Yeah, when it's created, I guess. People call it like the singularity, right? And this pretty much the singularity AI is pretty much just gonna be it's gonna like exponentially raise in intelligence above humans. That's like one theory of how AI is gonna be created, formed, whatever you want to whatever word you want to use, right? But the thing is that, first of all, there might be a monopoly. If one company discovers AI and another one, like a lot of people don't know how to or something like that, this is going to be a crazy monopoly, because that's like an insane innovation. But integrating that into like society, like maybe truck driving, or just like basic level jobs, minimum wage jobs, blue collar jobs, that's gonna like there needs to be some sort of governmental, like, even resistance to AI in the first stages, maybe, because they need to get the workers, like, transition to maybe a different profession or something like that, or because the government needs to play a part somehow, because if AI just simply just replaces all the jobs, that's just going to be a disaster. There's going to be so many jobless people, it's going to be insane.
All right, I think, yeah, let's transition to Donda. Jenish, tell us more, since you're the biggest Kanye fan amongst us.
Of course, man, of course. So if you guys don't know, um Donda was released today. Today is August 29th. Mr. Kanye West, the GOAT, the greatest artist of the 21st century himself, released Donda. And it's great. What do you guys think? I've heard like most of it, I guess. And I'm loving it so far. What do you guys think?
I listened to some songs, not the entire album. It's good, man. Like, look, Kanye, no matter what you say about his personal life or what he says, he is a great musician, right? He's a great artist. I can't deny that.
Greatest.
I would not say the greatest. I'm sorry. I can't say the greatest. But maybe one of the top, musicians of our time. He did a good job. Again, he did a good job, but I don't know. I feel like, I just don't, I just don't like how he lives or conducts, or he markets himself. I just don't like the fact that he says controversial statements to get more attention, or I don't know. So I think you have to separate the personal life with the music. I'm not going to deny, I'm not going to be one of those people that says Kanye sucks musically, because that's just not true. Kanye is a great musician, but again, I'm just not I'm not a fan of him as a person. Like, I wouldn't call myself a Kanye fan. I would call myself a fan of his music. So
You are a Kanye fan. That's it. No, I'm playing. But yeah, no, I agree with you. Like, some of the things he says on his political rallies are pretty crazy and out there. But yeah, I agree. Like, musically, I love Kanye, man. Kanye is goated.
Yeah, I think Dondo's pretty good. I didn't listen to all of it yet, but again, like his marketing ploys, it's just a little out there. But hey, the one thing you can't take away from him is that it works. Like, what he does, it just works. He's always relevant. He's like been around for decades now, and no traction seems to slow down. And so whatever he does, it works. And more power to him if he's able to capitalize on those marketing ploys.
yeah,
One thing I was talking about, because my dad does not like Kanye at all, doesn't like his music. He just thinks he's a terrible human being. And so, like, I was talking to him, and sorry. And what I will say is, and my dad did agree with this, is that the one thing Kanye is, I really like about Kanye, is that he's not somebody that just talks. Like, he talks a lot, right? But he backs it up every time. Like, he just does. He's a doer. Like, he came from almost nothing, like very like low middle class family, and like he went to college and he said, I'm gonna be an artist. And people were like, you're not gonna be an artist, who are you? And then he ended up being obviously one of the best artists of our time. And then he said, I'm gonna start a production company. And people were like, who do you think you are, dude? Like, sure, you can sing, but can you really like be that successful? And he started one of the most successful production companies of our time. And then he goes, I kind of want to move into more artistic, into clothing. And people are like, dude, like, you're in the music game, how are you gonna get into the fashion game? And now, like, everybody's wearing Champion because Kanye started wearing Champion. Champion's like prices increased because he started wearing it. And then he created Yeezy, and like it just exploded, and he's now a billionaire. That's insane to say you're a billionaire from your fashion company, from like it wasn't even your main source of like goal in life. And now he's a billionaire because of that. Like, he's just a doer. He does stuff. And he's just like, that's awesome to me. I like those people that just go ahead and they don't talk about it, but I mean, if they talk about it, they go ahead and they back that up with action.
Yeah, I agree, man.
Yeah,
Gotta
awesome.
respect. You gotta respect him.
I you have to respect his success. That's for sure. Like you said, that I just thought about that too. Like he said he was going to run for president. He did run for president. He conducted those political rallies.
He when he was young, he used to like really like Gap and stuff. He used to wear like Gap shirts. Now
Yeah.
Easy has a partnership with Gap. It's crazy.
Wow. Yeah. So I mean, yeah, I guess he's an inspiration in the sense that if he wants to do something, he'll do it, and he'll continue to talk the talk, but he'll also, back the talk. And so that's, yeah, respect to him for that. But like the way he conducts his business and the way he screws other artists in the process, like Drake, like for instance, Drake was come on, like you can't deny that he's not. Look, Drake just announced that he's releasing Certified Lover Boy CLB on September 3rd. And Kanye has been saying, oh, I'm releasing Donda. What was it? July 20th, right? It was the original date. Then it got every single week on Apple Music. It changes, right? The release date changes, and we're all frustrated because we like his music. But right when Drake announces CLB, like what? This week he announced CLB September 3rd. Donda drops right away. Donda drops like 3 days later. Come on, like do you not see?
Hey, if Kanye really wanted to be petty, he could have dropped on September 3rd. Like, think about that.
But Kanye is petty though. Kanye is petty. He is petty like that. Come on, man.
He could have dropped on September 3rd. That's what I'm saying. That's what people were saying.
No, but that would be dumb of him. He dropped it a little bit before because people would just constantly listen to that song and hop on the bandwagon. And then when CLB comes, it's not as big of a noise, or it will be, but he just wanted to be like a hindrance to Drake's success. And he's always wanted to be that way because he's, at the end of the day, he doesn't like Drake. He's jealous of Drake. I think he's jealous of Drake. I really
do you think he's threatened by Drake?
I think he is. Kanye feels threatened. I think he's one of those guys who gets easily insecure. That's why, like, he has to, obviously, like, look, you have to separate. Kanye has some deep problems, like, right, like health problems, which I understand, right? Like when he says something, he's not saying it because he wants to, but because of his condition that he has, right? He's saying it, so that's understandable. But I also think he's just an insecure person. That's again my personal opinion.
One sec. I agree with you. Okay, I agree. He has mental health issues and stuff like that. But why would Mr. West be jealous of Drake? That makes no sense to me.
Because Drake is the most successful rapper of of our last 10 years. He was the artist of the decade. He's just had more success. I mean, if you want to talk about numbers, Drake. More people listen to Drake's music than Kanye. You can say that Kanye has more passionate fans and they're more dedicated and more loyal. But if you look at just musically success, right? I think Drake has been more successful in terms of just musically. But Kanye,
I don't know how you can be jealous if you're a billionaire, bro. Like, you're gonna be jealous of a guy who's worth like 150 million.
I think Kanye's petty. This is my personal opinion. Again, like, I've never met Kanye, and again, it is hypocritical of me to make an opinion of someone without even meeting them, interacting with them. But since we're in the business of podcasting, we have to give our opinions. And if I have to opine on Kanye's career, I think Kanye has been insecure. Look at what he did to Taylor Swift. Like, he's one of those guys who, like, always thinks he's right and everybody else is wrong. And look, it's worked out for him, but I just don't appreciate the fact that he tries to screw over other people and just like lies about things. And like, I don't know.
I feel like from Kanye West, I get like, he's okay. This is not the same at all, but like, he reminds me of Conor McGregor a little bit, like, I don't know. He has like that same like mentality. I don't know.
No, actually, Kanye wins. Conor loses now. So I mean,
that's true.
You can't really. Yeah,
hey, but back in the day, Conor was different.
Yeah, that's true.
But the thing is, Conor had his GOAT time, right? And then he kind of drew back, just like Ibrahim said. But Kanye had his GOAT time, and he's still in his GOAT time. It's like constant.
You know what's crazy though? Even though he's losing, Conor, he's made more money in those lost fights, like in the boxing time when he boxed Floyd and stuff, than he did like all his career before. It was insane.
Marketing ploys, man. Marketing ploys. That's what it is.
Who's really losing?
Hey, fair.
All right.
I think that's
that was good.
That's a good note to end the conversation. All right, I think we covered everything. Yeah. See you guys next week. Take care. Stay safe. Stay blessed, man.
All right. Later.